The next step, whenever you're doing a preview series, is going from one episode to the next. And obviously, there's 12 coaches in total in the Mountain East Conference. We've already spoken with three. Three more will be joining us, including the one that you're seeing right now. But we're going to be speaking with a variety of different people throughout the rest of this preview series. But let's not go any further. Let's just dive right into it. So I'm excited. If you're new to this, subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube as well. Follow me on Twitter at Taylor_Kennedy7. But without further ado, let's just get right into it. I'm excited. Part 2 of the MEC preview series. We are pleased to be joined by the men's head basketball coach at Alderson Broaddus, Mr. Stephen Dye. Stephen, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me, man.
My man, I spoke with you last year, and you guys were getting the things together. You guys were still trying to build some things. But when we spoke last year, take us to where it is now, a year where we are today. How have you seen the program change? How are you still trying to see it become ultimately what you want it to be?
Again, I think we're building. I think we finished very strong last year. Our guys got a little taste of what it takes to make it to a conference tournament. We had a good run, and I think what that's done is, with all the experience we have coming back, I think it's allowed us to kind of talk about that daily, what we've learned from those mistakes and from the experience. And I think those returners do a very good job right now of kind of talking to our incoming players about what's next and what we have to do to take that next step this year and make it farther than what we did last year. So I think it's been a good experience for us, and we have to keep building on that. You can't take a step back. You can't be complacent. There's no reason for us to be complacent anyways with finishing 14 and 16 overall. The standard here at AB is a high standard. Coach Zimmerman, Hall of Fame coach, is one of the best to ever do it. That's the standard we need to try and reach, and that's what we're trying to get it back to.
You mentioned a lot about culture. You mentioned culture last year. Whenever I talk to you, it's always based around the culture of AB. You briefly hinted on it there for a second, but how do you continue to reiterate culture year in and year out on a day-to-day basis to remind your guys that, hey, regardless of what it says on the front, regardless of what it says on the back, it's what's on the front that really matters?
Well, it's special to me, man, because I'm a graduate here. I'm in the Hall of Fame here. When I played, we were in top 25. We cut down the nets 3 years in a row. This place, I met my wife here. This place is special to me. And without culture, I think basketball is just basketball. I think there's much more to it. And the culture for us is what we practice, what we promote, and what we permit. And so we have to do that every single day. So it's just kind of part of what we do here. I want it to mean more than just going out there and making a couple shots. I want these guys. I told them yesterday in practice, if you're fortunate enough to cut down a net or win a championship, that day is amazing. It's special. But I promise you, it's the memories leading up to it. It's the process you go through to get to there, which is what you're truly going to remember. And those are the memories I have. The 3 championships we won here when I played were great. Those days were amazing. But I'm telling you, it's all the blood, sweat, and tears that we, went through to get there was special to me. And I want those guys to understand that.
Year 4 for you as the Battlers head basketball coach. How have you seen yourself grow in this 4-year span? I mean, obviously, when you got the job, you wanted to build something great. But when you look at where it is now, going into this 22-23 season, self-reflect a little. How have you seen yourself grow during this time span?
Well, it's our job as coaches to learn each and every year and get better each and every year. We're slowly getting better as a team. Each year we've gotten this thing rolling better and better. When I reflect back to Glenville State, it took me 6 years, I believe, before we got to the national tournament. Obviously, coming back to my alma mater, I wanted to get there much quicker. But some winning's hard. Winning's very hard, and it doesn't always happen overnight. It takes time. So I think we're getting there. Obviously, we've lost some games we shouldn't have lost, and we've probably won some that we shouldn't have won. Unfortunately, I do feel, and it's not an excuse, but COVID was really hard on us. We still don't have a lot of kids that are vaccinated. So I think it was harder on us than it was most programs who required vaccination. We didn't have a full roster from December until the last week of March last year. We had starters missing almost every single game. So that did affect us. We're hoping and praying that's not the problem this year, though. So I think we're doing a solid job. Obviously, it's my job to get better and better every single year, and I'm hoping we can continue to do that.
What is that next leap? You keep mentioning that you want to continue to build it. You thought that you would be there. You wanted to get there a lot sooner. But what is that next leap for Alderson Broaddus to become what it was whenever you played?
Top three. We want to be in the top three. We competed with a lot of programs last year. Lost to Fairmont State twice by 1 point in overtime. We competed with Charleston. We beat West Virginia State. But we've got to be able to be up there consistently competing with number one, number two, and number three. That's the next step for this program. And it's not easy because you're talking about the historically prominent teams in this league are top 25 teams, and a lot of times top 5 or top 10. So our guys understand that. We have so much respect for this league, but our goal is to be in that top three. And I think if you're in that top three, that means you're probably being talked about in the top 25 in this country. So that's the next step for us. Whether we'll get there this year, we don't know. We have to earn it because I promise you, nobody in this league will give it to us.
Let's talk a little bit about players before we get back into the overall scheme of things for you all. You mentioned what you guys did last year. Among the progress and among the performances throughout the year, I think KJ Walker, being an all MEC second team player, should never go unnoticed. Averaged 15 points a game, started in 26 or 27 games for you last year. He's now gone. How do you go about replacing and identifying that next guy, since KJ was that guy for you all last year? How do you go about identifying and then working with that next person up? Or is it something that naturally just comes to you through them showing you?
I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, it's going to be very difficult to replace KJ. KJ is a special player, and he's going to do great things down at UNC Pembroke for his COVID year. I think two ways we're going to be able to fill that gap is first off, with Jalen Knott coming back, returning returning freshman of the year, he's gotten so much better. I think he's going to be ready to step into an even bigger role than what he played last year for us. Probably even more so. Sir Hughes was also a freshman last year. We recruited him. He went to school with Jalen Knott. He tore his ACL, though, unfortunately, the first week of practice last year. He's back. As of now, he's healthy, and we're very excited about what he can bring to us. He's got a certain toughness. He's got playmaking ability. He's smart. He really knows how to play the game. And I think the fact that he was able to sit back last year and watch and learn from KJ and learn our system, he's still going to be a freshman on the court, but he's got a year of experience at the college level. So we're hoping he can step in, maybe not right away, but eventually fill the void that we're going to miss from KJ. And the good thing about both Knott and Sir Hughes is the fact that they play together and they won a state championship in Cleveland at Lutheran East. So they've been very well coached, and they've just got that winning mindset.
Stay on those lines with Jalen Knott. You mentioned it, MEC Freshman Player of the Year last year. When you look at Jalen, you mentioned how his role is going to be expanding. There's going to be more asked of him. What are those discussions like for a young guy like him that came off such an impressive year, started all 30 games for you all, second on the team in scoring? What are those conversations like to try and get him back into reality?
Well, I mean, Knott's got a lot of confidence. I mean, he earns it. He plays hard and he practices hard. His role last year was more of a defensive role. I mean, he led. I'd have to say that I don't have a for sure stat, but I can almost promise you this is correct. He led the country in drone charges. He took 46 charges as a freshman, and that's unheard of. You look at Shane Battier for Duke. I think he took 115 in his entire career, and we all know what he's known for. So Knott's experience on the defensive end this year, it's going to be more of his role is going to expand more scoring. He averaged 9 points per game last year, but he can. We expected him to do more. He didn't shoot the ball as well as what we'd hoped last year, but he's shooting the ball very well right now. So he's excited about the role. He doesn't lack confidence. So we're going to have to sometimes bring him back down to the real world because he wants to do so much. But his teammates enjoy playing with him, and I think his role is going to be fun for me to watch this year.
Another guy that you're returning is Jalen Collins, and I actually got me being the person I am, I actually got that mixed up. Collins actually started 30 games for you last year, and he was second on the team in scoring, and then Jalen Knott was right behind him
Right.
as well. But let's take it from Jalen now. So Jalen's a guy averaged 11 points for you last year, shot 50% from the field. What needs to happen for him to take that next leap to become one of those top guys yet again in regards to statistical productivity?
Yeah, Jalen, you talk about a great kid. Collins is an amazing kid. He's going to step into more of a leadership role this year with KJ and John leaving. And what he's going to have to do is he's very good when he gets to his spots. He's got to be patient. Sometimes he does force the issue. But I think for him to take it to the next level, on the offensive side, when he gets to his spots, he's special. But the biggest area where he needs to improve is his defense, and he knows it. He was in a lot of foul trouble last year. I couldn't play him a lot of big games because he was on the bench because he was in foul trouble. So he's worked very hard on it. We've watched a lot of film this preseason. He's gotten better. Now it's commit to it because we're going to need him on the floor this year for sure, and we're going to need him to improve the game if we're going to get to the top three and trying to get to.
Couple more, and when you look at this conference, you mentioned it, how difficult it is to play. I have yet to ask anybody this question because I feel like everybody gives almost the same answer. But for somebody that was a player, now you're coaching in this league. Obviously, the league has been changed, and Alderson Broaddus was not in the league before. But regardless, what are some things that you take from a player and you apply it into your coaching realm or your arsenal that really helps you relate to the players?
Well, I think as a coach, you got to be able to talk to your guys, and it always helps when you've been there, you've been in their shoes. It feels like nobody wants to run anymore in the sport of basketball. Everybody just wants to play the game. I gotta say, I did 10 line drills. We did 20 line drills. We had certain things we had to do. I've been there. I know it's difficult, but I promise you can get through it. And I promise you it's going to make you a better basketball player because of it. And I think because I was in their shoes and I've done it before, it's somewhat easier for them to understand. And the fact that I was able to do it here, I was able to win championships here as a player. I think, they kind of know that we understand how to get things done. So we try to do our best to not just talk about everything that we did past. Really, at the end of the day, a new year's a new year, and nobody cares what we did last year, and nobody cares what I did as a player. It's about what we're going to do this year in this group, and we try and discuss that, but we try and learn from a lot of things that I did when I played and we did last year. So it's an ongoing process, but I think it does help the fact that I did play the game. I did play the game in this league. It was the Weaviac then, but against these same programs where we still have a lot of the rivalries. Back in when we played, it was us and West Virginia State. There was not much love. Greg Zimmerman and Brian Poor. It was always fun watching those two guys coach against each other. So it's just good being back in this league, and Reed does an amazing job of putting this league and putting us in a national stage.
One thing I do want to talk about that I always find interesting, and I don't think I've asked you this before on this program, but that is the off-season work that you all do. You guys have a very unique off-season. You guys do a lot of different team drills to try and mesh them together, help them conversate and relate with one another. Give us a background of that. What is it? How effective is it? And what have you learned by doing this?
Well, I found at the Division II level, and now with the portal, each year is going to be a whole new team. You're going to lose guys, and you've got to recruit so many guys each year for these programs. It's really about getting these guys to play together and building that culture, which we discussed. And so I think back in 2012, I started this when I was at Glenville State, and I took it and I got it from Shaka Smart. I really like watching what he does. I think he does a very good job. And he started doing a boot camp. and he hired Navy SEALs to come in and kind of go through with his team. And we kind of expelled off of that. We do it every year. Our guys really like it. It's a lot of fun. It's hard work. I'm not going to lie. We put them in very tough situations, but it's meant, to develop them as a team, as a family. And, each year we do a little cadence competition, and we did another one this year. And I'm telling you, it's special. Some of the stuff the guys came up with it's really good stuff. And I'm telling you, it's hard work, but for me, it's the favorite. It's one of the best weeks of the year. And I think the guys will tell you the same thing.
Couple more, and I always enjoy talking with you because you have so much insight, not only as a coach but as a player as well. And as we've already mentioned that already, but one of the things that's really starting to pick up steam is this transfer portal. As you know, and as I know, it's affecting the Division I rankings a whole lot, but you don't really hear a lot about it in regards to D2 and D3 and so on. But from your standpoint, how have you seen the transfer portal either benefit you all or affect you all in a way that, like you just said, you're going to have to deal with those new guys each and every year?
Well, I mean, the portal is the portal, and it's here. It's not going away. Us as coaches, whether we like it or not, we just have to adjust and adapt. I think on certain years, it's going to benefit a lot of different programs, but it's probably going to hurt some programs as well. Not all transfers immediately help your program. Sometimes it's just not the case. But I feel very good about what we got this year in the portal. I'm confident with some of the guys we got in, but you just never know. I just think as coaches, we have to be ready each and every year. That your team's going to change. So we have to do the best jobs we can to prepare ourselves. Because at the end of the year, if a kid gets an opportunity or a Division I school comes calling, we want the best for our kids, and if that's the best for them, then I'm okay with it. We as coaches just had to be prepared to find a new player the next year, and that's going to be difficult. But again, we just have to adjust. It's not going to change. We want what's best for the kid and what's best for our program. So it's just something we have to deal with.
I want to end on this note because just by the way that you talk, it seems like you can say yay or nay, but it just seems like you are very into the relationship side of things when it comes from a player to a coach. And you see that a lot, obviously. And I think that's very, very visible within the MEC. And again, you don't really see that often across college sports, but you do see it in regards to the MEC. So my question to you is, with the transfer portal and with the relationship side of things, do you have to approach recruiting and relationships differently because you don't know how long you're going to have a certain player for however many years they want to play for you? Do you have to approach that differently, or do you have to just treat everybody the same?
I don't think it's any different. The game of basketball is all about relationships, and none of us, not very many of us, I'd say, got into coaching just because we wanted to win some games. It's about developing relationships. It's about helping. I want my guys to be successful men, be good parents, have families, be successful in whatever they choose to do. I tell them all, 15 years from now, when you guys have your families, I want you coming back to some games. And I always make the joke, I want you guys donating some big money back to the program, but to me, it's about those relationships, and I don't think we can approach any different, whether we have a kid for 1 year, 4 years, or 5 years, we need to coach them hard. We need to love them hard. We need to be there for them. It's not always going to be great. Just as in any family, you have your ups and downs. There's always going to be adversity in a college program, in every team. So I just think you have to do the best you can to let them know you care about them. And if they decide to stick with you for 4 years, man, you love it. But if they decide that there's a better opportunity for them, I think in today's world, you definitely just have to respect that and be the best mentor you possibly can be.
Well, Coach, thank you for your time. I appreciate it as always. I look forward to seeing what Alderson Broaddus does this upcoming season. Good luck to you all, and we'll talk soon.
I appreciate it, Taylor, man. And appreciate you doing so much you do for the league, man. It's great.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your time. So up next, we'll speak with Mark Richmond up in South Euclid, Ohio, as we will stop in with him and we'll check in and see how Notre Dame did this offseason going ahead to the 22-23 season. You won't want to miss it on Hoops Across the Mountain State. That was head coach Stephen Dye of Alderson Broaddus. Up next, as we transition now from one guest to another, we're not stopping here. There's no time to slouch, no time to catch our breath, as they say. Whenever you get done with sprint, you have to get a little bit of a break. No breaks, no breaks, all gas, no break. Let's keep going. Please welcome into the program Mark Richmond, Notre Dame College head basketball coach. Coach, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me, Taylor.
I would assume that you're like a big basketball guy. I mean, obviously as a coach you would have to be, but this time of the year is probably your favorite time. I would say.
No, it's definitely exciting, and I kind of try to take advantage of the Division II rule where we can't start until October 15th. So I've traveled around to several practices, and got to watch the Cavs a little bit and several other college teams kind of before we get going. So yeah, I'm still a junkie, just trying to learn new things, and obviously checking in on some old friends.
So when you go to these different practices, what do you try and take away from it? Is it more just a spectator's perception, or do you try and, as a coach, pinpoint some things?
No, we're always trying to steal something. None of us really are smart enough to come up with our own ideas, so we kind of take what we like from each other and apply it to our system. So probably as a young coach, I probably tried to take too much. But if you can steal a nugget or two here or there, sometimes it really helps your program.
So let's talk about this season. Heading into this 22-23 season, you guys were preseason pick number 5 in the MEC poll, right behind West Liv, Fairmont, UC, and West Virginia State. But let's just start from square one and let's work our way out. What do you like about this year's Falcon squad?
I like our versatility. I think we're a little bit bigger, longer, athletic than we have been in the last couple of years. So I think that'll afford us kind of, it'll allow us to play a few different ways, and hopefully, kind of crack into that top 4. That's been the top 4, pretty much since I've been in the league. So we're all trying to get in there, and I think we're on the doorstep. But this is obviously the hardest step to take.
What has to happen for you all to crack that top 3, top 4 in this league? Because it's a very difficult league, as you know, but what has to happen this year?
I think just consistency. We've tried to build it the right way. We've had some guys in our program now, 2, 3, some even 4 years now. So I think, we've tried to take the slow pace and get to where we wanted to be by, doing it the right way. So I think hopefully, that experience and, things we've been through over the last couple of years, pay dividends this year, because we do have some guys that, are on their last go around. So I think they know what to expect, and now we just got to go out and perform.
Are you seeing a different type of energy from those guys since this is their last dance?
I definitely do. It's comforting as a coach, kind of not to have to, reteach all those things, and those guys can help the newer guys. So that's been really good. Obviously that doesn't, automatically translate to wins, but it's made things easier kind of in practice and, going forward. So we've been able to go a little bit faster. Now on this weekend, once we get going kind of every day, I'm excited to see how those guys respond.
How have you seen those older guys become an influence and be that leader, that companion for those younger guys?
I think obviously each guy's personality is different and their roles are different, but we've had guys like Tylen Crawford take on a more vocal role. Jaden Willis, who was our leading scorer last year, he's been really good and really positive with the newer guys, because he knows he needs them. So I think it's just like I said, I talk about a lot, like just need some guys to have some birthdays and get a little bit older, gain some experience. So you can't replicate those things, especially in our league. And, we're kind of the outlier. So, none of our travel's easy. I think, winning on the road is very, very important. And we've been to every venue now, and guys know what to expect kind of travel wise. So we're excited about getting rolling.
I was going through your productivity from last year. 3 of your top 4 scorers return. The only person that does not return is Michael Sampson, but you just mentioned Jaden Willis returns, Tylen Crawford, and then Dalen Lee, who came from West Virginia Wesleyan. All 3 of those guys return. When you have 3 core guys returning like that, how much of a boost is that for you all on the offensive side of the court?
I think it's very, very important. All three of those guys are capable of, going off any given night. So, like I said, I think they know, kind of what their role is going in. And, we need all three of those guys to score the ball. But we need their leadership and we need them to rebound and defend, just as importantly. So, all the three of those guys, and as we've been talking about, experiences, hard to duplicate. So all those guys are, kind of hitting the ground running, and I'm excited to see what they can do this year.
Let's start with Jaden because Jaden is always a fascinating player to watch. You look at what he did last year, 21 points per game on 39% shooting from three, 43% overall from the field. When you look at his game, being that elusive of a player for you all last year, are the expectations higher for him since he did have such a great year last year?
Yeah, definitely. I think he can be even more efficient. And, I've talked to him and sold him on the fact, and he's put a lot of work in this summer. He wants to play at the next level. I'm not sure where that it's going to be yet, but like I think he's a guy that can make money playing this game. I told him the next step, kind of being able to stick over there is we got to, he's got to be able to play the point for us. He's not, 6'4", 6'5", like, some of these guys. So I think he's got to be able to play the 1 and 2 and, not lose that scoring ability, but still have the ability to make other guys better.
Next guy I want to talk about is your second leading scorer from last year in Tylan Crawford. You mentioned how he's taking on that leadership role. How about that is he doing that? How is he approaching it? And how is he starting to get better at that as the days go by?
He's definitely our, kind of elder statesman. He's 24 years old. He graduated last spring and he's in an MBA program now. So, I think he was a guy that was probably 50-50 on whether to return, kind of using that COVID year. But, I think kind of the way we finished last year left a little bit of a sour taste in his mouth. We were kind of rolling there going into February and, had a, sprained ankle and, had a couple guys out late in the year for a few games, and we didn't finish as well as we were hoping to. So I think he's came back with, a kind of determination and a different mindset to kind of help us, get through that rough patch and kind of keep us on track. And, I think he wants to play in an NCAA tournament. So I think that's his goal. He'll do whatever it takes to get us there, and I'm excited for that.
How are you seeing this group of guys improve? I mean, I know you can see them in different ways, whether it be on the court during open runs or in the weight room, but give us something different that we don't really hear about. Is there something different about this year's team that gets you that whenever you wake up in the morning, you're just like, man, I'm ready to go to work today?
Right. Like it's a fun team to coach, and part of that's the experience. But we do have a lot of new guys, so kind of my sell with them has been, we got to control what we can control here, especially early in the season and throughout the preseason. And like to me, in the ever-changing world of college basketball and so much movement, like you got to control your conditioning. And if you can walk in on October 15th and be in great shape and keep working towards your first game, I think you can obviously take advantage of some people, especially early in the year. And then our connectedness. I mean, I think, welcoming some of those new guys and helping them through some things that we do and helping those guys define their roles is very, very important. And those things take time. But when you do have some experienced guys, hopefully that can expedite some of those things.
Let's talk a little bit about the transfer portal. And we've already mentioned those three players, especially the two in Jaden and Tylan, who both came from different schools prior to Notre Dame. And then obviously, as I mentioned, Dalen coming from Wesleyan. But I asked Coach Dye this question. What are your thoughts? What's your overall perception of the transfer portal? Are you for it? Are you against it? Give us your thoughts.
I think there's a lot of positives to it. I think a lot of people, only talk about the negatives, but there are good situations. And, we had some guys, make bad decisions and we had some guys make good decisions. So, like, I think everybody's situation's different now. It's hard to, build a team these days. You're trying to, put together the best possible roster, each year. And guys are trying to maximize their time in college. You have a short window, so If there's a guy that can move on and move up, great. If there's a guy that maybe not playing as much here as he thinks he should, and drops down, that can be a positive too. So I think obviously everything's very, very different, and change is sometimes hard to grasp and accept. But I think over the years, and people will start to figure out what works and what doesn't. I think we're just kind of in the middle of it right now.
Year 4 for you as the Falcons head basketball coach. Do some self-reflection. How have these last 4 years been for you? What are some things that you think you can grow in? What are some things you can just hold on to and just keep it along for the ride? Walk me through what these last few years have been like for you.
It's definitely been interesting. Year 1, I didn't get the job until about August, so we were about a month from school starting, and there wasn't a lot of time to change the roster and make a lot of changes and additions. So year 1, we struggled a little bit. We had some ups and downs and some good wins. But year 2, we had 14 out of 15 new players. So that was the COVID year, and we didn't start till January. And I thought we did a really good job getting better. We didn't start off great, there after Christmas, but we finished the year really, really strong. And that kind of rolled into, last season, which we started 8-2, and had some big wins. Kind of talked about it. We didn't finish this past season like we wanted to, but I think a lot of that attributed to maybe only playing kind of half a season the year before. It kind of got long last season, and guys kind of forgot how long the season really is. So I think we've done a better job preparing ourselves for that this year, and I think we'll handle it a lot better, rolling into a full season.
And then finally, I was going through your bio, and whenever you're a graduate of WVU, as am I, so that's why I like you so much. We represent the same university. But no, I'm just kidding. But you actually were a student assistant for head coach Bob Huggins, who recently was inducted into the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame. Give us a Hug story. Whenever you look back at your time working alongside Coach Huggins, now being in the Hall of Fame, can you give us a story that always sticks out to you about Coach Huggins?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of them. I was with Coach Beeline for 3 years, so I was quite nervous when Coach Huggins came in after Coach Beeline left, just because I was so familiar with it and was rolling into my last year of college. And I think the thing that stood out to me is how welcoming he was to me. He gave me a lot of advice that first year and gave me a lot of responsibility. So much so that I, before I even graduated my senior year, I had a job offer at a Division I school in Shreveport, Louisiana. And, I went in and asked him about it, and I was really excited because I think he was going to keep me as a graduate assistant and, spend a couple more years there. Just went to the Sweet 16, beat Arizona and Duke. So we were riding high, and, obviously made the Final Four a couple years later. But I went in and told him I had this job offer. Wasn't for a lot of money, and it was halfway across the country, and still had like a month of school left. But he said, "Yeah, you're not coming back here." I said, "What?" He's like, "You got to do it." He's like, "You're going to make some mistakes, but you're going to be 22 years old, and you'll be the youngest Division I assistant in the country." So what he did for me was, over that next month, I went everywhere with him. I drove him to multiple recruiting spots, flew on private jets, and went recruiting with him every single day. So he was really great for me and made some connections for me that I still use to this day.
That's awesome, and that just shows the guy that Coach Huggins is, not only on the court but off the court as well. So that's interesting. So I appreciate you sharing that with us. But Coach, always a pleasure speaking with you. I hope that you guys have a terrific season in year 4 for you as the Falcons head coach, and good luck. And hopefully we can continue to root on our Mountaineers this season.
Absolutely. And I know you're an MEC guy, so we got to get you to Cleveland to one of our games up here at some point.
I've thought about it. I really have. I've thought about it, and I'll make it work. Trust me, I'll make it work.
Let's do it.
All right, Coach. Well, best of luck the rest of the way leading into the 22-23 season, and I'll talk to you here soon.
Thanks, Taylor.
All right, Coach. Up next, Chris Richardson from Wheeling University will join us here on episode 121 of Hoops Across the Mountain State. Our final guest here on episode 2 of the MEC preview series, leading in and continuing on our preview series as we move forward, leading up to the very beginning of high school basketball here in West Virginia. We've spoken with Stephen Dye, head basketball coach at Alderson Broaddus. We just got done with Mark Richmond, head basketball coach at Notre Dame College. Now let's go up to the Northern Panhandle, where we are pleased to be joined by a friend of this program. And I don't know how many times, I've lost track of how many times he's been on here. He's almost like a co-host, as I said before in the first episode with a couple other guys. But Chris Richardson joins us now. Coach, welcome back.
Thanks, Taylor. Great to be here. Should have set it up sometime so, Dye and Richmond and myself are all in it together. You may need a different rating at that point, because when the three of us get together, we like to have a lot of fun, known each other a long time, two good friends. Yeah, happy to be here and ready for another great year of Mountain East basketball.
Absolutely. So let's start there. I mean, you've been in this league now for a few years, being a head coach. You've dealt with COVID your first year. Now you're starting to get into the rhythm of things. When you look back at your first season, do you feel like this is your true first off season? Because if you think about it, COVID was still around. Everybody knows about that. Last year, up and down a little bit, but now there wasn't hardly anything going on. Do you feel like this was your first true off season with your team?
I don't know if the first true off season, because once we came out of that, that abbreviated 2021 season, that we were still like, I'll be thankful for that till the day that I die, because so many leagues didn't get to play that year in Division II. We got to play 18 games, and that's phenomenal. But we got into a little bit of a routine, last off season, last spring. But then this past off season, in a number of ways, it was the one, I think we've grown more as a program this past off season, because, we have more clarity with our roster. We'd been through an entire season together, as opposed to a semester just hoping we get to play, and then a month where we played 4 games and then missed 2 weeks with COVID, and then a month where we played 14 games and didn't really practice. So, last year things kind of got back to normal. And this past off season was what I would assume moving forward will be, standard practice. So great off season for us in terms of continuing to grow and build our program. But we're here for these next several months and the time we get to spend together, and the opportunities that we have in front of us. So we're excited.
Where is that process of what you're trying to build at Wheeling? I mean, obviously we've mentioned it before, but where is that process in regards to where you're ultimately wanting it to go?
Yeah, it's still very much a work in progress. I'm not gonna lie. I wish I could sit here and say that we're so far ahead of schedule. There's some things that we've picked up quicker, and that we've that we've adopted quicker, and that we've been able to put into practice quicker. There's some things that we haven't. But the important thing for us is that we continue moving forward. We continue staying true to what our mission is as a program, developing the whole player, developing championship habits, and know that if we continue to commit ourselves to all that on a daily basis, that we will get the results that we want, and that this program and this school and community deserve. So yeah, we're still very much a work in progress. But I think any coach would tell you the same thing. Dwayne Osborne's won 1 million games at Charleston. And we talk once a week, but he's still talking about all the things he can get better at. And that's the mindset you got to have. That's the growth mindset that all of us are looking to have every day. And so we're a work in progress, but we're excited about the direction and the progress that we made.
How do you have those conversations with your guys to just continue to let them know and reassure them that we are still trying to build something here? Just be patient and just continue to buy into what we're saying. Are those tough conversations? Are those conversations that you have to have? Walk me through that.
Well, it's something you got to have a clear vision and a clear direction. And I know that we have that. I know that our guys believe in it, because they show me that every day, just through their actions. We don't have a whole lot of just, Mickey Mouse issues that we got to deal with. We don't have a lot of high maintenance issues. We had a workout at 7 a.m. the other day, and I got to the gym at 6:15, 6:30, and, I saw all the cars there. We had great energy. Like, we're not John Chaney at Temple, we don't go at 5:30 every morning, but early we do a lot of, morning work. Just, it's great to get it done before they go to class and go about their day. They don't bring anything in with them. And those guys' energy has been off the charts anytime we've done that. So, we just talk about consistently improving, consistently getting better, playing hard, playing smart, picking each other up. And one thing we've really focused on, this preseason is, hey, when things get really tough for you, stop thinking about yourself. Start bringing somebody else with you. And somebody, when the core cardio circuit, whatever we're doing in the weight room at the end of the lift, when that gets really difficult, the third round through, the fourth round through, pick up a teammate, hey, Taylor, I got you. We're getting through this together. And you get everybody doing that, and the energy raises, and, before they know it, the tough part isn't so hard anymore. So just continuing to build that togetherness. And to be honest, I've really seen that carry over to the basketball court. We are a much more connected and together team, both on and off the floor, than even we were at the beginning of the semester. So that's a sign things are continuing to head in the right direction.
I want to go back to what you said earlier on in that statement, and that is, you arrive at 6:15, 6:30, and you see all the cars there getting ready and even getting some early work in before the actual work begins whenever you arrive. When you see that as a coach, especially a coach that's been there multiple years now, I would assume that just puts a big fat smile on your face.
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, I don't want to let my guard down. But yeah, sometimes. And the important thing, like, and I've talked with some guys that have been in the program for the last few years that have been along this whole journey. And we've got several that have, chosen to stay here that probably could have left, or the easy thing to do would be getting the transfer portal and see what my opportunities are. And they've enthusiastically chosen to stay and continue to not only buy into what we're doing, but put it into practice and bring other guys with them. It puts a smile on your face. And when you don't get the results on the court that you want, and we were so close last year to having a much better record. We were in pretty much every game. There's always a couple that, go your way where everything goes right, and a couple that go the other way where nothing goes right. But for the most part, we were in every game last season. When you don't get those results, it's easy as the leader, and I think it's natural as the leader to say, hey, like, what can we do better? What are we doing wrong? And how is this going to affect our culture? How is this going to affect, not the culture that we're trying to build, especially. And so I kept seeing good things last year from that. Like, we kept playing hard all the way down to the Final Horn against West Lib in the quarterfinals. We kept playing extremely hard. That's good. But you've really seen the seeds of that culture that we're trying to grow. You've seen some of them begin to bloom, really this preseason. Culture is such a buzzword. I've probably said it 4 or 5 times just in this answer. Every coach says it all the time. There's cut-ups on YouTube with coaches saying culture, culture, culture in all their press conferences. But what doesn't get talked a lot about with that is that it takes time. It takes a long time to put and implement and grow the culture that you want. I'm a barbecue guy. I like to cook. The best meals that I make on the grill are usually the ones that take a lot of time. You gotta prep the meat the night before. Get your spices together, your seasonings together. Let those settle in. Then you got to regulate the temperature of the grill. You know what I'm saying? You got to make sure that the meal is getting the heat that it needs, but not too much, so it doesn't get overdone. And then the reward comes at the very end of the process. It's a great meal for everybody that gets to have it. Growing a culture is kind of the same thing. You gotta tend to it every day. You've got to put time into it. You got to know what you're looking for, begin with the end in mind. But then most of all, you have to have the patience to let it grow. and the belief in yourself and then the people around you, that it is continuing to grow. And that's where we're at right now.
I have to ask, because knowing your roots, I know some of the people you used to work with. Where did you learn your barbecuing skills from?
My dad and my granddad. My dad, obviously, and then my grandfather on my mom's side. At the family farm in Tyler County, there's still a grill there that he's had since, and he's been dead for 14 years now. But a grill that he got in the 50s. It's, solid metal and iron, and still works very well. So I grew up around it. Always been a charcoal guy, and maybe I'll get one of those Traegers or what's the hibachi, the Blackstones. Those things are all great, but anytime I think about buying another one, I stick to what I know.
I was surprised you didn't say legendary grill master Coach Greg Hunter as one of them.
Well, when Hunter would host his cookouts, I had one job. Like, I always had to bring a dessert, and Hunter lives like, a mile away from a Walmart. So, and he still teases me to this day. I'd show up with, the boxed cookies that are about as close to the front of Walmart as you could get. So literally, like, it was the least I could do. But I did what he asked me to do. I brought dessert, even if it was, the plastic box of cookies. So.
Well, as you know, as myself, I work with Coach Hunter, and I also attend the Labor Day cookouts or whichever cookout it is. And I usually ask him, so what do you need me to do, Coach? What do you need? He'll say, oh, just bring some snacks, just do this, and I'll,
don't worry, just come, just have a good time.
Yeah, just come enjoy the barbecue. Pool's open. But no, I mean, he'll just say bring a snack or whatever. So I'm like you, go to Walmart. That's literally 5 minutes up the road for him.
Yep.
Swear, back-to-back years, I've brought cheese balls. Has not performed the way I wanted it to, but hey, I'm coachable, as you are as well.
Yep. Always a good time at the Hunter family cookouts.
Yeah, absolutely. But enough about food, because now I'm hungry. I can't be hungry right now. Let's get back to ball, because I'm enjoying this. But looking at your productivity from last year, you have your top 3 scorers from last year are no longer with you all, including your leading scorer and Jordan Reed, who was just an outstanding ball player for you, averaged 21 points a game. You look at Jared Haynes, who averaged 19 for you last year. They're both gone, but then Jay Gentry is also gone. So again, your top 3 scorers are gone. How do you go about, and I asked Coach Stephen Dye this question, I'll ask you this. How do you go about identifying and searching for those top playmakers on this year's team when your top 3 scorers are gone?
For us, it's about balance. It's about having enough pieces out there that it's going to be hard to have 2 guys make up for Jarrett and Jordan getting, basically 40 points a game between them. Right. That's a lot to ask. But we can have, and then Jay averaged, I think, around 10. So that's a lot of points. Right. But you can ask 8 guys to, each get 8. You can ask 10 guys to, balance it out. There will be nights where guys get 20. There will be nights where we have several guys, get 12 to 15. I think one of the strengths of our team early is our unselfishness and our ability to make shots. And it's not just 1 or 2 guys. It's a lot of guys out there that can make shots, and they're willing to, feed the hot hand or get the ball moving and trust whoever ends up with the open shot. So we are going to have to play a little bit different than we did with those guys. There's no question, because Jordan and Jarrett, especially, they were such good one-on-one players. We could open up a gap for them and know that something good was going to come from it. With Jordan, when you threw him the ball, there's a good chance he was either going to score or get to the free throw line. So we'll have to play a little bit different. We'll always adjust, offensively to our personnel, but I sure miss having those guys around every day because, they were family. Jordan was actually back this past weekend for homecoming and was hanging out with all our new guys and, some of his former teammates. And, Jay is living the good life, traveling all over the United States right now. And then Jared is, playing overseas, playing in Ireland, and off to a great start.
One guy that you do have returning, however, is a guy that I've actually told you before. His energy it just seems like it's contagious on the court. And that's Brent Price, a Wheeling Central Catholic alum. who's a standout for head coach Mel Stevens. He's starting to produce a lot more at a much higher rate for you with the Cardinals. How have you seen Brent perform over these last few months leading into this 22-23 season?
Yeah, I mean, we know what we're getting with Brent Price. That's the beauty of him. He's going to bring it every day. He's going to have the most energy on the floor. He's going to have the most energy in the weight room, in the locker room. And he's not going to, it's not fake. You know, it's real. It's who he is. He is one of the just most, what's the word I'm looking for? I guess positive. He's just one of the most positive people that I've ever been around in a team setting. You know, and he is driven to win, and he's used to winning. And I think it's been hard for him at times, you know, because we haven't won as many games as we'd hoped the first couple of years. So, but that hasn't changed his energy, and that tells you a lot about his character. So, yeah, man, BP's been awesome. He's done a great job of leading this group. Him and John Cordy took that mantle right away in the spring when we started back up, and they have run with it. They've been tremendous at just putting their arms around the younger players and showing them the way and really setting a great example for the intensity and the daily effort. I think that's the thing that gets lost when you talk about moving from high school to college. It's every day, and it starts, you know, for us, it started right after Labor Day and you know, goes all the way hopefully through late March. So, you know, there's a monotony to it at times if you let it get to you, but there can also be a spirit, you know, a positive energy that guides you through that. And Brent Price provides a lot of that.
What does he need to do to be that top dog for you all?
I think just consistency. You know, there's going to be nights where he can score a lot, and you know, he's really improved as a shooter over the last couple of years. You know, he was one of our best shooters. We chart a lot of our shooting stuff in the preseason, and he was at the top of it. We're near the top pretty much every week. And we've got a team that really shoots it well, you know, across the board. So just being consistent, you know, taking care of the basketball and continuing to be that guy defensively that relishes guarding the other team's best player. Takes a lot of pride in his individual matchup.
Another guy I want to talk about is another West Virginia guy that you have on your roster, a sophomore for you all. Saw some productivity last year. Actually played in all 30 games for you all, and that's Will Gabbert, a Greenbrier East product, formerly with George Washington. But when you look at Goose was such a tremendous, not Goose, excuse me, that's his brother. When you look at Will,
I can't comment on any you know, perspective.
Yeah, I got you. That's a host mistake.
Trying to get me in trouble. I'll do a good enough job of that myself.
That's a host mistake. I'll take that one on the chin. But when you look at Will, he was a great shooter in high school, and he's now starting to, you know, get his stride, catch his stride, as they say, with you all up in Wheeling. How has he impressed you this offseason so far?
It's not just me that he's impressed. I mean, if I had $1 for you know, every teammate that came in to you know, talk about Will Gabbert and just how good he's been, and the standard that he's continued to push higher and higher, not just for himself but for our team. You know, I'd have enough money to go put together a heck of a barbecue meal, to get back to talking about that. But you know, he's been really, really consistent, and he's such a routine oriented guy. I mean, you're going to see Will, you know, 30 minutes before practice starting his stretching routine. He's kind of like Mariano Rivera, you know, and I'm not a Yankees fan, but they'd always have the, you know, the camera in the bullpen showing Rivera in the 7th inning, 8th inning, starting to get loose, you know, get ready to go. That's Willie G. He puts a lot of time in on, you know, taking care of himself. He's gotten a lot stronger in the off season. He's moving really well. He may have even gotten taller. I don't know. You know, we don't do the notch on the door frame. Maybe we should, but he's been really good, really consistent. And that's another thing, you know, that we said about Brent Price that you can say about Will. Like, you know what you're getting every day. He's not going to have many, if any, bad days. And when he has a bad day production wise, it doesn't affect his energy or his effort. And so those are guys those are winning qualities, and Will's got a lot of them. And you know, we're excited for him to take a big step forward this year, and I know he is as well.
And finally, I want to end on this note, just because I always love looking at your Facebook feed, and there's always something new about your son Corey. I mean, he just seems like he's fun to be around, And let's talk about Corey. I mean, he seems like he's got that. I see some defensive drills going on at home with you all. How's Corey doing?
He's doing great. He's excited for basketball season. He started preschool and we got through all the potty training this summer and all that fun stuff that you and everyone else that's a future parent has to look forward to one day. My wife works on Friday nights. She works at one of the local TV stations up here, and she's got basically a 9-to-5 job. But on Friday night, she puts her old sports director cap back on and goes out and shoots high school football. So Friday night's kind of been guys' night, and we've been going out to watch a lot of the great local high school football teams, and he's really gotten into that, seen some great games, some great talent. And then he's excited about our team. He keeps asking me when the first Cardinals basketball game is. And so, we know he'll be there and fired up and running around the gym and, picking up on what everybody does. Like I'll tell him to act like Brent Price and he'll pull his shorts up a little bit like Brent Price does when he's really locked in defensively. He does a great impression of me walking up and down the sidelines, clapping after, a good call by the official or a made basket. So he's awesome. He's fun to be around, and he's getting old enough where he's starting to figure out more and more about, my job and the life that, that we have and have, that he didn't really choose, but he's enjoying it. So pretty cool to see. Another thing he can do, he can name all the Mountain East coaches. He can run down the roster. Before we got on here, I sent he was talking about the Notre Dame Falcons, so I sent a video to Mark Richmond. Tell you a funny story. I know you got to go, but my wife was on a board for a charity event this summer here in the community, and they had a silent auction associated with it. And so we put together a little package, some basketball lessons and some T-shirts, and put it in there as a silent auction item. And Ben Hallett just lives like less than a mile from me. And so hang on a second. Alexa, turn on the upstairs. Sorry. Good thing we're not live. So Ben Hallett stepped up as well and said, yeah, we're in as well. Anything we can do to help. And he dropped off some Westlib shirts at my house so we could take him and put him in the auction. And, I set Corey up and he started talking about his, all the different coaches in the Mountain East. So Ben and his wife pull away and I go inside and I say, hey, buddy, you coming back in? And he said, no. And I said, why not? He's like, I'm waiting for Coach. I said, well, Coach is leaving. He goes, no, not that Coach. I'm waiting on Dwayne Osborne and the Golden Eagles. And I swear. And so I had called Dwayne. He got a big kick out of it. Ben got a big kick out of it. But yeah, man, there's nothing. The only thing better than being a coach is being a parent. And he's a joy to be around every day. I'm very lucky.
That's awesome, man. Well, I hope Corey enjoys his season being with you. I hope we need to see some impersonations of him whenever he impersonates you. We need to see some videos on social media of that if there's not one already, but we got to see something like that.
Yes, see what we can do. See what we can do with that. Hopefully I'm a little more calm, cool, and collected. He doesn't have anything to mimic.
That's a good point. I'll give you that. But Coach, good luck this season. It was good talking with you, and best of luck the rest of the way as we move forward into the season.
Thanks, Taylor. Always great to be on the Hoops Across the Mountain State. Go Cardinals.
Absolutely. That will conclude episode 121 of Hoops Across the Mountain State with our three terrific guests, Stephen Dye, Mark Richmond, and Chris Richardson. And as always, you can follow me on Twitter at Taylor_Kennedy7 for all the latest about this podcast. Subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube as well. And I will catch you all next Monday, I should say, for episode 122, our third edition of MEC Previews here on Hoops Across the Mountain State. Thank you all for listening, and stay safe.